This episode has been brought to you by My Extraordinary Productions. Can't find the right actors? We can cast your project with you. Click the link in the description to learn more. Awesome news! We have a viewer-requested video. So I Digress 77 times asks, is it possible to make a video on how to hire a union actor? I'm looking to make my first short film and I have a budget. I just wonder if jumping through hoops to get union actors is worth it, or just go non-union for my first short. Everyone does ask a question like this at some point because we've all figured out that just because something seems easy doesn't mean it's the best thing to do. Now this is a really good question, such a good question in fact that I have to ask some questions to give you an answer. So my first question to you is, do you have union actors in your area? And second, do you have specific union actors you're hoping to hire? If the answer to both of those is no, then it really doesn't make sense to fill out your union paperwork. But if one of those answers is yes, then the answer is maybe. Either way, union or non-union, you have an obligation to make sure that you have enough resources that your shoot is a pleasant shoot. It's one people would love to come back to. Ideally, you're going to have at least 6 weeks between your paperwork being filed and your shoot date for everything to be processed. And ideally, you're going to have at least $500 that you can spend on workman's comp insurance. Yes, $500 is a lot of money for an insurance policy that is only supposed to last for a weekend. But if you are filming on a regular basis, it does become cheaper from a cost per use standpoint. And yes, if you're a student filmmaker, you might be able to use your school's insurance policy. Now, since this is your first project, I highly recommend you find at least one person you can delegate tasks to, just because learning how to do the SAG paperwork and learning how to do the cinematography and the directing and finding the actors and doing the this and the that and the other, it's a lot. So you're going to want one person who you can delegate to. It doesn't matter who is in charge of the SAG paperwork, but it helps immensely for only one person to be in charge of it and for that one person to be the point of contact for the SAG-AFTRA office. Now here's the actual process of filling out the SAG forms. You're going to want to go to the SAG-Indie website, and ideally you would spend a few minutes looking at all of the contracts that they have to offer. Also, they offer workshops and seminars and can answer a lot of your questions about your first shoot. If you're watching this video, you are most likely going to use their micro budget agreement, their short project agreement, or the student film agreement. Once you pick which contract you're going with, you're going to have to fill out a preliminary form as well as attach an itemized line budget, a copy of the script, and either some sort of government ID for yourself, or you're going to have to give them some sort of paperwork for your business or DBA. When you fill out your preliminary form, you need to also explain the genre of the project, a synopsis. You need to explain who is financing the project, who owns the project, and how long you expect the project to take, which means you're going to need a rough schedule. Now, ideally, you would have the whole thing cast, or at least part of it cast, but whether or not you do, you can always find your actors later. And once you turn in your preliminary form, a SAG-AFTRA official will be in contact with you shortly. That SAG-AFTRA official will help you with paperwork and will help guide you through the rest of the process. The first misconception about hiring union actors is that it's really expensive. And it can be, but it also doesn't have to be. You have to have insurance. And if you're like me, if you're going to spend $500 on insurance, well, you don't want it to look bad, so you end up sinking more money into that same project. Check out my video on the Diderot effect. Some contracts state that union actors need to make a certain dollar amount and they need a certain amount in their pension, in the retirement plan, but other contracts state that you and this actor can negotiate your own terms. If an actor really likes your script and the commitment is really short, like a single day or a weekend, then they might even be willing to work for just a copy of the film, a credit in the film, and the cost of lunch for those days. Another misconception is that you can hire your friend as an actor and make them SAG eligible. You really can't do that. You need at least a $50,000 budget in order to do that, and even if you do that, you still have to fill out forms explaining why this non-union actor is taking up a SAG spot, and you may have to pay extra fees on top of that. And yes, you can hire a non-union actor because of their unique look or their unique skill and get them a voucher that way, assuming you have the budget in the first place. But it's really, really hard to explain to someone that you just really needed this 5'9" Caucasian male with brown hair to be in the audience or to be a gym goer or something really generic like that. Plus, as far as the actor is concerned, that isn't necessarily union membership. It could be union eligibility, or it could be a single voucher that goes toward union eligibility, but it is not joining the union in and of itself. One misconception is that union actors can do non-union work, which they can't, they legally can't. When a union member of any industry does non-union work, most of their colleagues see that as a weakening of the union. Now, some people may suggest a union actor just use a non-union name, but what happens if your non-union name gets really, really famous and your union name isn't? It just creates all sorts of complications and awkwardness later on, and you're just much better off being consistent. On a similar note, there is a misconception that non-union actors can't do union work, and actually, non-union actors can be on union sets, but there are rules. Sometimes a non-union actor is called in because they have a unique skill set or a unique look. Sometimes a non-union actor gets promoted to a union spot because they have 9 of the people they need, but they need that 10th union spot filled in order to actually have their shoot. However, if you look through all of the contracts I mentioned, you may see that your non-union friend could have a speaking role. One misconception is that you have to have your film cast before you fill out the paperwork. It definitely helps, but you know, you can always find the rest of your people later. It's possible to fill out the preliminary paperwork first, then cast your film, then shoot your film, and fill out every last bit of paperwork where you would say, hey, this is who we ultimately ended up casting, and then you send that into SAG. Our last misconception is that the SAG-AFTRA agreement is enough. The SAG-AFTRA agreement is designed to protect the actors, and it's great and everything, but you need to make sure you are protecting yourself as well. So I highly recommend either finding a contract online or creating your own that works with the terms of the SAG-AFTRA agreement. If SAG-AFTRA's agreement says that you and the actor can negotiate a pay rate, your contract can say, this is the pay rate. If the SAG-AFTRA agreement says that the actors have to be insured and have to be on a safe set, your agreement can say that actors are going to wear helmets here, or they're going to wear masks here between takes. All right, so that is the answer to your question. If you'd like to see your question answered, please be sure to leave a comment with your question below. Otherwise, follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all next time.